wanted to have the Secretary, Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change also to join us, but we just got a message from his office that because of some urgent work with the minister, he is unable to join. So with that background, I will request our Secretary General to give us this briefing for the valedictory session.
Thank you, Mrityunjay. It's a great pleasure to actually welcome Mr. Anirban Ghosh, the chairman of the committee. You also said that he is the chief sustainability officer of the Mahindra Group, but he's been with Mahindra since 1999. Of course, he played a great role in expanding into the agriculture business since 2010. He led the implementation of a national award-winning shared value projects like watershed development and has given a strategic approach to the group's social investments. His work led to a white paper on enabling the second green revolution in India. Of course, he lectures at the various Indian institutes of management there, and of course he chairs the committee for us. So we are delighted to have him with us here, and we also have Mr. Arvind Wadankar, who is the joint executive president and chief sustainability officer at Ultratech Cement. He has an expert in renewable energy, and he's worked in diverse fields such as petrochemicals, diverse experience in petrochemicals, fertilizer, steel, cement, shipping, glass. He's also double-hatted many functions such as manufacturing operations, quality, HR, business excellence, risk management. So the two of them have come with a tremendous amount of experience, and they both are fortunately very involved with the FICCI work on the circular economy. Thank you, both of you, for joining and for agreeing to share the wrapping up of the sessions. Over 275 delegates from across the globe, 47 speakers, including 15 from overseas, had participated in over the last 2 days. We covered 5 sessions in different topics. We are going to actually talk about the inaugural, the global power pitches, a special session on linkage between the circular economy and opportunities from COVID-19, the panel on the role of public policy, building circular economic ecosystem, investing in the circular economy, and the sessions towards plastic packaging. And I very vividly remember the presentation that was made by the group in the opening session, and saying that the huge opportunity that there is if we were to leverage this properly. And of course, the deep dive sessions on crucial sectors like textiles, agriculture, and water circularity. The Accenture strategy paper, which strategy for sustainable plastic packaging in India, over $100 billion opportunity till 2030, was released by Mr. Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog, in the opening session. And I think the numbers are really mind-boggling. We consume over 10 million tons of plastic packaging, amounting to about $13 billion in value. Of course, we said that we only capture a fraction of this due to number of reasons like poor packaging design, low waste collection, etc. But I think more about this will be told by the two experts here. I once again welcome Mr. Ghosh, FICCI Economy Committee, and Mr. Bodankar, committee member, to share the summary of the deliberations and the key. As you are all aware, this is the fourth in the series of these annual summits that were happening on the circular economy. And I think I'm privileged to have been a part of all 4 of them. And both of them would actually highlight the areas of intervention for FICCI in order to facilitate creation of required ecosystems to promote the adoption of the circular economy principles for the industry. So once again, a very warm welcome to the chair and the member of the committee, and a very warm welcome to all the participants who are with us on this Friday evening for the valedictory session. And I want to compliment Mithunjay and the entire team for an exciting 2 days that we have had. Thank you very much. And with that, I hand over to Mr. Anirban Ghosh.
Anirban, you are on.
You're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shanoy. Most generous introduction indeed. And thanks to all of you who have joined this session. I know we are a little bit over time, so we'll try to keep the session short for you. This is, after all, a valedictory session, so a little bit of reflection is important. I like the way the symposium is gradually building up, not just in the numbers of people attended, but the quality of the people who are joining the conversation, the international representation, and the learnings we are getting from everywhere. In fact, the opening session was quite remarkable in the sense that we got a ringing endorsement from Mr. Amitabh Kant and an open promise that bring your deliberations to me and I will see how to get things done. Those are not empty words, actually, because I must share with you that in the last 2 years, not only were a couple of his suggestions acted on by us, so he asked us to get a award started, which we did, and then he said, come to me with your policy recommendations and I will look at it. And so we went back to him with policy recommendations from all the inputs we received last year during the conference. If you were at the conference, you will remember we had a suggestion box and requested you to put your policy suggestions into the box. We assimilated them and took them across to him. If you've seen the new EPR, many of the things that we put forward in our policy recommendations are actually a part of the EPR. I'm not claiming that they are there because we mentioned it to him, but we are just happy that some of the things that we put forward to the Niti Aayog found place in the EPR. And we are confident that many more suggestions will keep showing up in the environmental legislations that will happen over time. We have another opportunity to fine-tune our suggestions on the basis of everything we've learned this time, and we will do that. Interestingly, in one of the sessions, there was a suggestion of having a nodal body for circular economy, and that's a part of the suggestions that we've given the Niti Aayog already, requesting them to look at the possibility of repurposing the pollution control boards into circular economy promotion boards. Personally, I think it will happen over time. Question is how much time it will take. We've had a lot of learning from the speaker from EU and the speaker from HUL about how a corporation is trying to be responsible about the plastic that it uses. In fact, the conversation on plastic is gaining ground. It's not just becoming louder, but it's getting a lot deeper. And you will see that from the papers that have been published last year and this year, where we began 2 years ago by scoping out where the opportunities were. We realized plastic was a big area. We also realized that the nation was focusing on it. So we did a paper on plastic. And this year we've gone deeper into how to make circular economy in plastics become better. So that's been the focus of the knowledge paper. And of course, it was followed by a deep dive session just to make sure that we were making a lot of traction on it. So that was broadly what we did at the inaugural. This year, we had the best international session we've ever had before. Fantastic contributions on how to put an economic incentive for people to participate in a circular economy, how to build a compliance mechanism so that the ecosystem builds up, how to build an ecosystem. And I mean, I would encourage you, if you've heard what was done in South Australia, if you go deeper into it and hear and read more about it, it is a fantastic ecosystem. couple of data points. It helped them reduce their landfill by more than 80%. It has ensured that all their construction and demolition waste is recycled and reused. If these two things happen in our country, we will make a huge difference to the way we manage our waste, the huge difference to the way our water bodies get polluted, huge difference to air pollution and so on. Just these two. But that wasn't the end of the story. There was more that they've done in South Australia. Sorry, I'm personally fascinated by their story, as I am with the story of converting agri-waste through pressure and water to panels, and of course the story of IKEA. So these were some of the things that happened in the first two sessions. Let me invite Arvind to share what happened in a few other sessions and also share his thoughts on those topics. Arvind.
Thank you, Anirban. Thank you, Dilipji. Thank you, Mrutyunjay, for inviting me for this valedictory session. In fact, when we were discussing, when we were designing this conference, the idea was that what has happened since we had the last conference, and after that, what exactly had happened? Because last time also Mr. Kant was there, and many other government authorities were there at that point of time. And as Anirban rightly said that we had at the end of the conference, we had gone and submitted a paper. In fact, the findings, like we also had a similar conversation, and I was a part of that conversation too. And we summarized the findings or the takeaways from this, and we had submitted that paper to Mr. Kant, and it's reflecting into various policy. So to scrutinize on what has happened since last conference and this conference on the public policy and the another government related directions, we had a session on the we had a panel discussion, in fact, which was chaired by none other than Dr. Prasad Modak, and you had an opportunity to have that session day before yesterday from him. And some of the objective of this session was to what government is doing to incentivize circular economy, or what government is actually doing to develop an ecosystem. At that point of time, we had three deep dive sessions. I remember one was on automobile, the other one was construction and demolition waste. Also, textile was there, and textile was there this year too. And then we had Rachna, Andrea, Amjad, and Archana, who deliberated in this particular session. And what we could find that, as Anirban already mentioned, that there is a need for, some apex level organization to promote circular economy. Something important which also came up is, coordination between the 2-3 ministries. Because if you want to drive circular economy, there are always 2-3 ministries involved. One is, of course, the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and Ministry of Finance, and Ministry of Industry. So there are 3-4 ministries. So that coordination is something which needs to be strengthened. So that's what it has come out. Something interesting is somebody mentioned about the toolbox. I mean, government needs to have the necessary tools to develop policies. And like we provided them last time, and it has reflected into the new EPR policy. So that's something which is very important. And the one more thing came up is the capacity building of the both at the government level also, and at the industry level also. We need to have the capacity building of the people, as well as creating awareness and enhancing the knowledge of the people. Then we had 3 deep dive sessions, and I will quickly touch upon that. The first one was on water, the second was on agriculture, and the third one was on textile, which is the recently concluded one. And the one which was on water, it was led by again Surojit from the Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola and all these people. I had my friend Vivek, I had we had Alex, we had Deepa from WBCSD also participating into this. And the objective for this session was to what are the challenges which are being faced in recycling the water. And one of the challenge which came up is integration of the natural water and the treated water. That's what something which has come out clearly. And there is a mindset issue with the people, because the treated water is still, people are not ready to accept whatsoever good quality it is. And from the river, if we get the water, usually most of the people do not even check with the quality of water. But when it is a treated water, and I personally experienced this in the industry, and I said, I have a fantastic treated water, but which includes sewage treatment also. Can you be using it in the boiler? So people say, no, we will not be. Or okay, will you be using it into the CIP? So people say, no, we are not we will not be doing that, because it has the sewage also into it. So that mindset change is necessary. Uh, Utilizing, if you want to have circularity in water to be effective, that mindset change is required. That's what came out clearly in the circular economy water. The agriculture session, which is very important, especially from the parali being burned, in Delhi and around, and a lot of pollution is happening. It has already started. From that point of time, it is very, very important. And we had Dr. Nimesh Shah, who is the managing director for Toilet Board. He actually chaired this session, and we had other speakers too. And so there was a need that, again, to build an ecosystem around collection and the logistics per se, because while the agriculture waste is available, but the logistics, collection center, and aggregating all those waste which is there, and taking it to an industry for useful utilization is something which is important. So building an ecosystem and infrastructure in a cost-effective manner, of course. If I'm getting a coal at 6 rupees a kg of a particular calorific value, the agriculture waste with the moisture, even though the cost may be lesser, but because of the moisture and the lower calorific value, it becomes expensive for me. So there is a need for collection of the agriculture, drying of that agriculture waste. So that's something which has come up during when we were talking to that session. And lastly, the textile one, which was chaired by Mr. Thomas Varghese, who is also a business head for Aditya Birla Retail, and they have been doing a lot of work, especially the retail in the retail area, because textile we had seen that Anirban was mentioning, infinite circularity. So he mentioned yesterday in his conversation about the infinite circularity, and textile has a potential for infinite circularity. And as many times as you can use that, textile. So many of the speakers, they spoke about, the idea was to understand the best practices on how they are, how the circularity is built in the textile area. And so they presented some of the case studies over there, and it was, quite insightful. There was a lot of knowledge which was there, and a lot of learning also over there, which can be, of course, applied by some of the other industries. Let me take a pause over here and hand it over to Anirban again, and maybe we can come back again. I can come back again. Anirban, over to you.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you for sharing your perspectives as well as the summaries of the discussions that happened. There were some other discussions, and I noticed that there was a common thread. One, of course, was the discussion on COVID and circular economy, where the core thought was about resilience thinking and how resilience thinking could be taken and implemented in the circular economy space, not just from an environment perspective, but also from a social perspective. Then there was the conversation on circular packaging and creating an ecosystem. Common thoughts there on using policy measures to create an ecosystem in general and an ecosystem for circular packaging. There was, of course, conversations on incentives that are required to make this happen. But a thought occurs to me that just as you need incentives to get a circular economy ecosystem going, you actually need some disincentives as well. So let's take an example. If you heard Hemant Chaudhary talking about creating a circular economy ecosystem in Adelaide, they had a very potent disincentive. The first disincentive was $5 per ton of waste that is being, you have to pay that money to the landfill operator to put your waste there. And those $5 have now increased to $140. Now, if you have to pay $140 to put your waste somewhere, you will obviously find ways to reduce the amount of waste that you put there so that you incur a lower cost. You contrast that with the system we have in India, where for every truckload of waste you bring to the landfill, you get money. Now, if you have a system like that, then you will obviously want more truckloads of waste so you can make more money. So today we have a system of incentives in the managing waste ecosystem, which does not allow us to reduce the amount of waste that goes to landfill. And of course, there are other practices that get put into place. So the conversation on putting incentives and disincentives to create an ecosystem is an important conversation which we will put into the summary papers for this conference. There is one thing I'm really missing this time. I remember the last time in this closing session in the hall there in Federation House in Delhi, we had all the circular economy, the committee members on stage, and those of you who were diehards who were still there at the end of the conference. And we had a wonderful conversation. It was an open conversation between the committee members and the people who had attended the conference. And a lot came out of that last conference. If I remember correctly, you rated that session to be the highest, even though there was no formal structure or anything. So I am actually missing that that conversation this time, thanks to our virtual format. But maybe we'll figure out how to deal with it if we have to remain with a virtual format the next time, which I hope we don't. So let me thank you once again, especially those of you who are still here on the session. I maintain you are the true diehards. You're here till the end. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for engaging in this conversation. And of course, my gratitude to the FICCI team that has worked very hard despite COVID to put everything together, and the committee, the national committee, which gave them lots and lots of suggestions and gave lots of suggestions for the knowledge paper to make sure that all of it happens properly. So I'm done. Thank you very much. Over to you, MK and Mr. Shenoy.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Budhankar, and SG for summarizing the 2 days deliberations. And I think we come to the end of the symposium. We have to make one announcement that all the delegates who are still watching or not watching, and even then, all those who have attended this symposium will already have got a thank you mail from our side. We have sent you a link on which, if you click, you fill up the feedback form and get to the link for downloading the report also. So that is how, because the feedback is really important for all of us, and that is where we look for the improvement areas for us. So thank you so much. Thanks all the panelists, all the speakers who has participated in this conference in last 2 days, all the delegates. Because of you, we have been able to make it successful and quite interactive. Yes, though there are virtual challenges, but still we could have questions putting up from the delegates, and we can transfer that to our panelists. That is also could manage some of the questions which we could not address. We will be sending it to speakers to one-to-one for sending the response. So with that, again, we thank you all our partners who have supported this, and thanks a lot to the National Circular Economic Committee and the chair.
MK,
yeah, Anirban, you want to say? Yeah.
I'm sorry, that should have been the last word, but I must mention that we discovered a lovely new phrase during this symposium. That phrase is infinitely recyclable. And I would want everyone who's attended the conference to look for things which are infinitely recyclable and try and make sure that those things don't end up in the trash can or the landfill or the nearest water body. To my mind, if this symposium has had a contribution, it is the creation of the phrase infinitely recyclable.
Thank you, Anirban, for bringing that. I think that is the one word that is already doing round, and in all the groups you can see that even in the master class, that was the largest bubble that we have actually did that Mentimeter. So definitely it is catching up. I think that's that message. Once again, I thank you, all of you. Thank you, our committee members, for the and delegates for participation. And lastly, I would definitely like to thank our Secretary General for all the support and the guidance to take this work forward, and our team led by Ashish, who has worked very hard, and supported by Deepa and Nimisha and others to make this successful. Thanks a lot, and wish you a nice weekend. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Infinitely recyclable.